The elevator doors closed on my former boss as his face twisted into absolute panic. Only minutes earlier, his spoiled daughter had terminated my employment right before the biggest corporate signing in our history. I stood there holding a cardboard box filled with my personal belongings while my phone vibrated violently inside my coat pocket. It was the lead investor calling to finalize the multi-billion-dollar merger. My name is Taylor, and I spent 3 grueling years rescuing that collapsing financial institution from total bankruptcy. I sacrificed my relationships, my health, and my sanity to draft a beautiful corporate deal. Donald, the chief executive officer, always promised me that my hard work would be rewarded handsomely. Instead, he allowed his newly appointed daughter Courtney to run roughshod over the entire company. I answered the phone with a heavy heart as the elevator reached the ground floor. Vincent was waiting in the lobby with his team of high-profile attorneys and advisors. He asked if I was ready to make history together on this momentous afternoon. I calmly informed him that there had been a sudden change of plans because I was no longer an employee. Silence gripped the line before Vincent demanded to know what was happening. When the elevator doors opened, I saw him standing near the glass entrance gesturing wildly in confusion. Courtney had followed me down the stairs to gloat, holding the corporate employee handbook tightly against her chest. I stepped out onto the polished marble floor and prepared for the inevitable collision. Vincent rushed over and embraced me warmly, refusing to believe the devastating news I had just delivered. He asked if we were still signing the paperwork to complete the merger. I looked past his shoulder at Courtney and explained that the deal was officially dead because she had just terminated me. Vincent spun around with a dark expression and demanded an explanation. Courtney stumbled over her words as the entire investment team stared at her with complete disapproval. She claimed she was merely enforcing company policy because my skirt was slightly too short according to regulation. Donald materialized from another elevator with several frantic board members trailing closely behind him. He tried to claim it was all a simple misunderstanding that could be resolved quickly. Vincent shook his head in disgust and explained that his organization could not do business with people who treated top talent so terribly. Donald pleaded with me to discuss the situation privately in his office, but the damage was already done. Vincent revealed that Section 4 of the contract contained a key person clause which allowed them to withdraw immediately if I departed. I had carefully inserted that specific clause months ago to safeguard my position, and now it was destroying the entire firm. Vincent shook my hand and told me to call him whenever I decided on my next career move. He walked out of the building with his entire entourage, leaving behind a room full of stunned executives. I ignored Donald as he shouted my name. Outside the building, the crisp afternoon air felt remarkably refreshing despite the chaotic scene I had left behind. I realized that my greatest professional achievement had just collapsed into dust, yet I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. I powered down my phone to ignore the dozens of panicked messages from colleagues. At home, I poured a drink and watched the sunset. By the following morning, the financial news networks reported that our corporate stock had plummeted by nearly 30%. Rumors of the failed merger sent the organization into a massive tailspin that threatened thousands of innocent jobs. Part of me felt deeply sorrowful for my former co-workers, but I knew the blame rested entirely on incompetent leadership. I spent the week resting completely. My sister Harper noticed how relaxed I looked during our weekly video conversation and suggested that being terminated was a blessing. 2 weeks later, Donald managed to reach me on a different line and pleaded for a conversation. He sounded completely broken and exhausted as he explained that the board of directors desperately needed my assistance to salvage the wreckage. Donald admitted that firing me was a catastrophic error and informed me that Courtney had been removed from her position. He begged me to think about the thousands of families affected by this crisis. I asked what they were prepared to offer if I agreed to return. Donald told me to attend the upcoming board meeting and name my own terms. The next day, I walked into the executive boardroom wearing the exact same outfit that had caused my termination. The board members stood up immediately with expressions of desperate hope and profound embarrassment. I bypassed the pleasantries and highlighted that their stock value had crashed by over 60% since my departure. They needed a miracle to survive. I placed a legal document on the table and stated that my conditions were completely non-negotiable. The chairman read the pages silently before passing them to Donald, whose face turned pale. I demanded full reinstatement at triple my previous compensation, a permanent seat on the board, and a substantial equity stake. I also included a very unique clause regarding future business ventures. The clause stated that any new business concept I developed while employed would remain 60% my personal property. One board member objected to the unusual terms, but I reminded them of their previous foolishness. Realizing they had absolutely no leverage, the chairman signed the contract and passed it around. Donald signed it last with a trembling hand. I immediately went to my old office and initiated a long conversation with Vincent to repair the relationship. He was extremely hesitant to work with the firm again after witnessing such unprofessional behavior. I explained that he was not trusting the company, but rather he was trusting my direct leadership. After hours of intense negotiation, he finally agreed to review a new proposal. While restructuring the struggling departments over the next few weeks, I secretly initiated an experimental side project with our product director, Maya. I wanted to design an innovative line of versatile women professional attire featuring adjustable hemlines. Maya was surprised by the sudden shift in direction, but eagerly assembled a talented team to begin developing prototypes. We spent our evenings perfecting beautiful garments that empowered women to control their own style in conservative environments. Thanks to the unique clause in my contract, I owned the controlling interest in this rapidly growing subsidiary. The line became an overnight sensation across the country, generating millions in revenue and securing my complete financial independence. I occasionally saw Courtney working in a low-level data entry position down the hall, but her presence no longer bothered me. I had successfully saved the jobs of my peers while building an empire out of the very thing they used to humiliate me. True success is not about getting angry, but rather about turning a betrayal into an opportunity.